Anyway, yes, today I'm gathered around with three of my close friends who I'll introduce in a second to talk about everything to do with networking and networking events. Um, if you've been paying attention to this conference, you probably noticed that basically every single talk that we've had, all like 30 of them, someone's at some point has mentioned how important networking is. And I totally agree. I think it's super, super important. But I also get that if you're new at it, it's really daunting and scary. And, it's just, I don't want to go to a scary meetup with a bunch of people I don't know. It seems terrifying, but actually it's quite nice. I'm going to try and dispel some myths, tell you a bit about it. If you're about to go to your first few networking events, hopefully this will maybe, make it feel a little bit more positive. And if you're a budding networker, you might still learn some tips and tricks along the way. Anyway, so I'm joined by, I don't know which direction you're in. On my right? No, on my left. Somewhere on the screen is Alyx Jones. Do you care to introduce yourself?
I'm Alyx Jones.
No more introduction needed.
I'm joking. I'm post-production lead at Liquid Violet, so I mostly work in voiceover for video games, so I do a lot of dialogue editing. I worked on Final Fantasy VII and Elden Ring, so it's pretty cool stuff. I also have a startup company of my own game studio, so do audio things with that as well as everything else, and do freelance work with audio and music stuff with clients, so all over the place. That's me.
Nice. Fantastic. Thank you. I'm also joined by a good friend of mine, Aaron Richards, who for me is in the corner. I don't know where he is. I guess he's always in the corner. He's in a corner. Aaron, do you care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should have finished with Alyx. I'm Aaron. I'm up in Scotland, Edinburgh. I run the Edinburgh meetups along with a couple of my friends, and I am in data as my day job. I'm also kind of in sound design as my day job too, but don't tell them. That's me.
Thank you. And then finally, we're joined by Steve Simpson. You care to say hi?
Hi, I'm Steve Simpson. I'm based over in the Northwest. I kind of say my base is Liverpool, but I actually live on the coast, which is in Southport. By day, I'm a horrible civil servant that works on digital products. And by night, by day, I do the same as Aaron and just put the rock on the laptop, pretending it's working away, and then I just work on sound design stuff in the background. But yeah, that's it. I host Game Audio Liverpool as well.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you. So obviously, whilst you're all fantastic people, great sound designers, great friends of mine as well, the reason I gathered you three specifically is because if you don't already know this, if you're in the UK, together, the four of us, we all run UK-based game audio meetups. And Alyx, to be fair, you've run tons of meetups in your time as well. So if you didn't know, me and Alyx together run Guildford Game Audio meetups. I also run the Bristol meetups sometimes. Alyx, you've run Game Jam games and Women in Games we run meetups as well. So tons of meetups for you. Aaron runs the Edinburgh. God, starting to stutter. Aaron runs the Edinburgh meetups up in Scotland, and as Steve said, he runs the Liverpool meetups as well. So tons of meetups being organised by these four people. Anyway, let's get into some questions if that's all right. So the first one, and yeah, the biggest thing we've been saying all conference is that how networking is so important for getting into audio, no matter what kind of field or role. I just want to know, I guess I'll start with you, Alyx. How does networking actually get you a job in audio? How does it work? What's the basics?
Yeah, if you've never done networking before, it sounds like quite a daunting thing, and it's this kind of like, oh, everyone should network, but what is that and how do you do that? So, I don't go into it as a thing of, oh, I need to go and make business connections and get a job immediately from people. And I'm quite chill, I just want to make friends and have a support network, and that's essentially what happens is I've just made loads of really cool friends. But it's not that you'd approach someone and go, here's my card, goodbye, and immediately get hired. It's kind of planting little seeds that are going to grow into things 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And it's making those relationships and friendships. And it's not just about getting a job. It's people that you might ask advice, they'll become your friends. They might even give you work if they get really busy. There's loads of stuff to get from it. So that's kind of that in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. To echo what Alyx said, it's very much a long game of building a network of friends, and it really is mainly friend making rather than businessy connection making. And yeah, after a while, it just starts paying off, and it's not like a quick process, unfortunately, really, is it? But I think it really is a worthwhile endeavor. Anyway, this is a question for all of you then. what, just in case anyone's out there, never been to a networking event, maybe a bit scared, admittedly, like we all were when we first did our first one. What are networking events you've been to? What are they actually like? What do they entail? Steve, do you want to go first?
Yeah, there's a mixture of different types. So my first networking event, I suppose, in terms of game audio, was with yourself, Lewis, when I came down to Guildford.
And I was really the first one. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
I was absolutely shitting it outside. I was thinking, oh no, how am I going to know everyone? Because the networking events that I've been used to in the past is sales and marketing and very corporate, and it is very much here's my business card and hi, how are you? So I kind of went in a little bit like that, and then quickly realized that this isn't the way to do it. So I mean, the ones that I've been to range from a pub gathering where it's just a load of friends hanging out and having a beer, chatting maybe a bit about audio, but just life in general, ranging up to things like talks. I was actually at Games Talk Live last night, which was a series of talks with 25-minute breaks in between. Talks were super quick fire, and it was like an introduction, and then the 25 minutes is basically, it's almost like speed dating, and that was kind of different but nice. So they really are different. I've been to Liverpool, Guildford, Midlands, over in Leeds as well. So I've been to a fair few, and everyone's got its own different culture, which is kind of nice. Yeah, so it depends, but the overriding theme is it's super chilled out anyway.
Nice, cool. How about you, Aaron? Your Edinburgh meetups, what are they like?
Edinburgh meetups, it's funny because I just want to meet people who are kind of into what I'm into. And, we talked a lot about networking and so on and so forth, but yeah, I just wanted to meet people who are going through the same stuff or know more than I do. Relaxed. I actually had to put casual in some of the briefs that go out now, just to make sure people weren't turning up with the wrong expectation, which is understandable, but casual, to echo Steve.
Cool. And Alyx, so obviously we've been to loads of pub meetups, there's loads of those across the country, but what about things like big conferences like Develop, etc.? What's that like to attend as someone that's looking to network?
Yeah, I think the first thing I ever went to was Game Music Connect, which used to be held in South Bank in London. That was a fairly big conference. I've done Develop quite a few times as well, but I definitely think like the first time I've gone to stuff, it's quite daunting because you don't know anyone, you don't really know what to say, and I was just a student, so I was like, I don't know what to say. Am I a composer? Am I a student? Am I aspiring? Kind of, how do you introduce yourself? I kind of like had business cards printed, but most of it ended up being just talking to people, and everyone is really friendly, and game audio is really, like, I love it so much, and the community is very welcoming. Like, I've not really had any huge issues with anyone, so it's quite easy to make friends and just chat about stuff that you all really love because you've got the same hobbies and passions, I guess. So I don't know, like, it's daunting, but the more you go to stuff, the more you get to know people, and then every time you go to something, your mates are all there, so it's not as scary after a little bit. But I guess it's worth caveating stuff with, like, this is a very UK based experience of things, and like America and Japan might be quite culturally different, which I haven't experienced so much, so bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, we are all very much UK based. I've never been to any big conferences or meetups outside the UK. I'm hoping there's a lot of overlap with what we're saying, but you're right. There might be some differences, so apologies if that's the case. I was going to ask you another question. What was it? I completely forgot. Oh, yes, I was just going to echo what you said, which is, yeah, it definitely gets easier the more you do it. And I think the first network event is always terrifying. To be fair, I always find them a little bit scary. Like going up to another event, I've done hundreds now in my time, yet still every time I kind of get to the pub door or something, I'm standing outside like, oh, I don't really want to go in here. my brain's telling me to go home and sit on the sofa and do something else. But once you kind of like get past the initial fear, and especially once you start going to more than one and you start kind of recognizing people from last time or seeing people it gets so much easier to kind of like, see some pink hair in the crowd and beeline towards it and say, oh, hi, Alyx, how you doing?
Goddamn.
So yes, whilst it is extremely scary for everyone, it is friendly, and I hope if anyone watching this, that's the main takeaway, but it is a friendly, nice thing to do. It's not as scary as potentially with other industries. In terms of all the different kind of events, and do you have any preference, Alyx, on like which types to go to? Do you have any more success with like things like bigger conferences or smaller pub meetups? Any just preferences at all?
I mean, I don't actually really drink, and so although most meetups are in pubs, I prefer things that aren't. But I mean, we run them in a pub at the Drummond in Guildford, so naturally people drink. But everyone's pretty like no one's getting really wasted kind of thing. But I quite like when we did like the picnic, the London Game Audio one. That was really really nice because everyone was quite chill, like outside, and it was much more casual. But Develop's probably the best conference in the UK for making like really good connections and actually meeting new people, not always like the same local people, which is fine. But you kind of want to always expand your network a little bit, and it's just very like wholesome vibes. It's Brighton at the end of the day, so it's pretty cool. And there's like the loading bar, but they have like arcade machines. I don't know, I like it a lot. Sitting on the beach at midnight and bonding, kind of a thing.
Yeah, totally. I'm the same actually. I don't really drink much, especially not at any networking events. I don't mind the pubs because I always use an excuse of getting another glass of tap water as my excuse to stop talking to the person I'm currently talking to.
Oh my gosh, you say that to me every time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to the times. Like, yeah, I did drink a lot actually. That
Very hydrated.
I'm hoping that now we hit the summer, there'll be more kind of like meetups in like parks and stuff because those are really nice. But yeah, for the most part, the smaller meetups are always in pubs, aren't they? Which maybe we can change. We need to. I wish there was kind of like nighttime cafes around the UK.
Yeah, like a Creams kind of a situation, but not with drunk people, right?
Alyx, Go for Game Audio in Creams.
I mean, I'm happy to do it.
That's actually a great idea. Please hold us to that. All 35 people in the chat.
All right, we've got a week to transition to Creams.
Steve, you said you've been to quite a few conferences and meetups. How about you? Do you have any kind of preferences on what you prefer?
No, I think I like the difference. So I like that, for example, that thing last night wasn't necessarily game audio as well, which was really good. So I think I've always been a fan of different perspectives, different points of view. So those types of things for me are the best, especially when you've got someone who, as you kind of go to these other types of events, that many people don't get the audio aspect and they're quite keen to talk to you about that, as opposed to a room full of audio people who kind of get it straight off, which is also great as well. But yeah, I've got no preference really. For me, it's the people bit. That's what I really like.
Fantastic. This is for all of you, I suppose. Do you find there's anything more useful between meetups which are specifically audio focused versus meetups which are kind of broader game development or film production, etc.? Put your hand up if you want to have a go answering. Go on, any one of you. Aaron.
I used the little hand logo as well.
Yes, thank you. No, I didn't know we had that.
There you go. Yeah, so there is, and I've been to a general Game Dev Edinburgh one. It's really frequent, so it's super relaxed. Like it's every 2 weeks, so it's super relaxed about who can rock up anytime, which is really nice. The thing about the audio one is that when you're at in the level I'm at, you meet your peers who are also on that similar grind to you, and like it maybe takes a little bit of time, but you can be open and vulnerable and be like, I'm in that application grind, and someone goes, oh my word, me too. Like, this is hell. Because sometimes it does affect you, right? So yeah, having that real mutual thing that you're sort of struggling with is quite nice. It's not the only thing, but it's a nice little benefit to the audio focused ones.
Yeah. And likewise, I think it's good as well to become friends of people who, if you're a cynical, you think they're your competition, like applying for the same jobs you are, they're fighting for the same kind of like few limited spaces. But I think actually making like a group of friends of people all coming up together through the ranks and giving each other opportunities, I think long term it's actually kind of probably lead to more work than if you just stayed by yourself doing nothing. This is my own anecdotal opinion, so I can't really prove that, but that's what I personally think.
I can give some proof to that. So
yeah, go for it.
Myself and Aaron actually went for the same job, and we were messaging each other through the whole process, and it was like, did you get an interview? Yeah, we got an interview. How'd it go? And we were giving each other the heads up of what was being said at that point, even to the point where it was like, did you get it? No. So we basically hugged each other virtually afterwards. It was quite a bonding experience. But
I'm really sad to hear that, but I'm glad you.
No, it's good. I think you wouldn't get that in a different industry. industry. Do you know what I mean? I think if there was a job going for, say, in the private sector, I one of my past experience was in the music industry, which is so aggressive. Yeah, so it was like, so that having that, I think I had a colleague not speak to me for 6 months while we went for the same job. So, but afterwards it was like, yeah, you're just as shit as me. So it was one of
that is an honor, Steve. I'll take that.
Oh no.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm sorry to hear about the double rejections, both of you, but no, it is nice to have someone with you. It's kind of like you're in school and you haven't like studied for an exam or something, and one of your friends also hasn't studied for the exam. It's like, yes, we can fail together. This makes you feel so much happier.
But only one person can pass the exam.
Also that.
Yes, good point.
Alyx, what about you? Do you have any preferences between kind of like generic game dev meetups or specific audio meetups? You must have been to tons of both, I imagine, in your time.
Yeah, it's quite different because you get something different out of each of them. Like, I couldn't talk to half of the game devs about random audio detail and implementation and stuff, but then you get more of a broader kind of connection from the game dev people. But I think if you're purely thinking of it in a work perspective, both of those have equal like benefits, because yeah, the game devs might hire you as an audio person, but I tend to find like a lot of us who work in audio and have worked our way up get really fucking busy and we need help, and so we'll pull in people who we know and trust to help us. So you get work from your peers as much as you will from the people making the games, if not more sometimes. So yeah, totally. I don't know, yeah, equal.
Yeah, cool, thank you, that's a great answer. Okay then, so let's say, imagine you're in the audience, you've never been to a networking event, you're kind of hearing, well, everyone's saying I should go to a networking event, but I don't know where to start. Do you have any, this is all of you again, any kind of just general tips you follow on how best to network in audio? Hand up. Who wants to go first? Go on, Steve.
Yeah, so this is a tough one, because again, I mentioned about the different cultures, so you've got to weigh that up. See, I'm quite sneaky the way that I work, and I'm interested in what other people are doing. So I tend to make sure that I've done a bit of homework before I go, just in case, you know, I get chatting to someone and chances are I'll probably know what they're working on anyway, and I can bring it up. I was just saying before we came in, just for the people who joined us, I think the first time I met Alyx was outside a Guildford pub we're appointed, and just said, "You're famous," which is quite embarrassing. But you'd be surprised how many. I have done that so many times as well, which is even worse. But yeah, it's one of those. Do your homework, and obviously there's going to be people in there who just want to chat. That's the big thing. It's getting over that initial kind of fear, I guess. I don't know if that's a tip or not, but yeah, that's what I do anyway.
It's just preparation, isn't it? You know, taking some time to kind of like do some digging about maybe some people that you know are going to be there might just help. You know, making conversation might make it a little bit easier if you're nervous about chatting to people. I like the idea that you like search Alyx Jones and was like, oh, she's famous. That's all I need to know.
Oh, you know what it was? I actually, when I first started my master's, I went through the tutor list, and I was like, okay, this is back. So yeah, Alyx, I've stalked you all this time. So back in like October, I basically pulled the list off.
How long ago?
Oh yeah, this was. I think you were born in Hospital. Yeah,
you should know because it's the Guildford.
Yeah, Guildford Hospital, and yeah.
This is tips what not to do, people. Don't do
Yeah, so it's stuff like that. I think I know Sarah's coming in there, so I met Sarah at Leeds, and I already knew her work through the bonsai stuff. And I was like, oh wow, your stuff's so cool. She'd just done a playthrough on guitar, and I was like, oh yeah, you're such a great guitarist, and etc. So, you know, it's those little things that can spark conversation. Not that I purposely did it, because it's just me being me, but those sort of things help.
No, that's cool. That's a good tip. Just like, yeah, it's always good to know a little bit about the kind of projects, etc. So when someone says to you, oh yeah, I work on this project, you can be like, oh yeah, that one. Not, I've never heard of that. It's a good tip.
Off the back of that, like, not necessarily doing your homework and stalking people, but if you are worried about going to an event, messaging me on Twitter or whatever and going, oh, I was thinking of coming to this, and I will literally look out for you. You can say hello, and you've got like an intro of being like, hi, I'm from Twitter, like I saw you on Twitter, or I talked to you about this. So it's like a bit less nerve-wracking if you just like find someone who's going as well and be like, hi. Then
Yeah, totally.
it's easy. Yeah.
And just to echo that again, if anyone's coming to meetup I'm at and you're nervous, feel free to reach out to me and say like, Lewis, please come find me and rescue me from the awkward corner where it's hard to make a conversation with someone.
And then you go, oh, I just need to go get a glass of water.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Aaron, how about you? Have any kind of networking or just conversation starting tips?
Yeah, I think both what Alyx and Steve have touched on is good. I think you kind of got to know what kind of person you are as well, and sort of what your strengths are. For example, almost to a fault, I'm quite jovial and like hyper friendly. I can't help it. So, and what's worked for me is that I don't mind when I say being the fool. I don't literally mean acting like an idiot. I mean, if things are awkward and I address it and people kind of go, oh, I'm like, well, I'm just trying to make this work for everyone. You know, like everyone's maybe feeling a bit, you know, when the wheels are starting to get turning at the event. So kind of know what your strengths are as a person and work from there.
Cool. Yes, good tip. Okay, then opposite end of the spectrum, what should you avoid at a networking event? And I'm going to start this
stalking people.
Yes, no stalking. The main one for me is don't ask for work. I think that's just like makes the whole thing, it's really counterintuitive, isn't it? But asking for work, you know, just going there with the sole purpose of, are you hiring? No, okay, see you later. You know, it just makes the whole thing seem very transactional and rude. And I think everyone's going to, I don't know, just kind of be avoiding you the rest of the night or day or whatever it is. If you're just clearly there just for work and not to actually like make friends or connections with people. That's probably the obvious one. So sorry if I've taken the easy one. Anything else to avoid?
Well, it's a good point because it instantly devalues whatever relationship you could have formed because you're like, you're just there to benefit me. It's not a mutual relationship. And so you have to remember, like, even if you're thinking about it in that way, it's a two-way thing. It's not just like you're going to hire me. It's like, what am I going to bring to you as well? And it's like, if you're looking for work, it's okay to say that you're in that position and say what you do, but it's not okay to be really like hard selling yourself for an hour to someone who's like, I'm not hiring that position anyway, which happens. So it's always a balance between being like, oh, I really want to get into sound design, but I've not found like the right junior role for me. And then when I go away and need a sound designer, I've remembered that I've had that conversation, but I also remember that you were nice and not pushy, and maybe you could ask for advice and be like, if you have 5 minutes, can you have a look at my show reel or my CV or something? Because maybe it could use a bit of help and that kind of thing. People are always happy to help with, but it's like not going, here it is right now in the middle of a networking event, right?
Yeah, totally. No, totally agree. How about you, Aaron or Steve? Anything to avoid?
I was just going to ask then, have you actually had someone force a show reel in front of you, Alyx, while you've been at a networking event?
Yeah, like they'll be like, here's my SoundCloud, give me headphones. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Wow.
Headphones
Okay.
as well, that's prepared.
Yeah. And like the same at Develop with game devs, they'll go round with their game like trailer playing on their phone to show you. I'm like, I can't hear anything. There's like 1,000 people in this room. It's really hot. Like, it's not benefiting anyone. Like, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it's not the right time or place for it. Like, give me a business card and do a follow up, and I'll look at something. So
Even if you wanted to like have a listen to it, like you can't really watch videos on someone's phone in public. Like you can't hear or see it. It's like when someone tries to show a YouTube video in public, it's like, well, all I can do is pretend to smile at this because I won't be able to hear or see it anyway. So I don't know how I'm going to get any kind of meaningful feedback from the show reel. I've actually had one worse than that. I've had someone hand me a laminated CV. And then leave.
Laminated.
Yeah, laminated, just in case, I don't know, you wanted a doctorate or something. Or maybe it's in a pub. I suppose it could get like tea stains on it or something. But yeah. So don't do that either. That's my other tip. How about you, Aaron? Anything to avoid? Oh, we covered it.
I think they covered it well, but just one sort of short story that's kind of happened to me once, and it reminded me of my time playing in bands and like DIY shows and blah blah blah. It's just getting that transactional thing of someone comes, shakes a hand, hi, I'm so and so. Have you heard about this? And like this is already like a transactional like pitch thing you're doing to me, and it went on for a little bit. But yeah, if you're metaphorically going to get into bed with someone, you want to know who that person is. You can't just meet them right there and then. So
yeah, totally.
Thank
you, everyone. Yeah, great answers. Okay, next question. This is a really simple one. I just want to know how you all introduce yourselves to someone new. I feel like whenever I'm at a networking event and I'm feeling a little bit kind of like socially anxious or a little bit nervous, like the hardest thing is like the first line you say to someone. I feel like I overthink it massively every time, but I always get a bit nervous when there's like a group of people talking, or there's just one person you're stood next to at the bar, and you just don't really know how to kind of be like, "So hey, how you doing?" But in reality, that's probably not that bad. What do you say, everyone? Hands up. How do you introduce yourself to someone new? Steve?
I'll go.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. This I generally don't think about it. It goes, "Hi, It went from, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm a student," and I found that was actually not great, because what I think a lot of people tend to do, more experienced folk, think, "Oh, this guy's going to chew my ear off for the next whatever." So I just go in now and say, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm sound designer," and I just leave it like that now. I think it's more a case of, if I already know that person, I'll instigate a conversation. But generally speaking, it's just once you start from there. I mean, I mentioned before about traveling around, and that's a great talking point, because it's like, "Oh, you've traveled all the way from X," and so it's generally that sort of thing I tend to introduce myself like.
Cool. Nice. How about you, Aaron?
Because it's mainly the events we run. I've not been to that many of the general Edinburgh ones, but yeah, it's that same thing. Fortunately, the person like we found our line in with was the person that promotes it on Twitter, and I'd give them a shout, just to say, "I'm planning on coming tonight, like first time, hopefully see you soon." And then I was able to sort of chime in with that when I met the gent who puts it on. So
Cool.
aside from that, I got nothing.
Nice. How about you, Alyx?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it either. I think I just naturally.
I suppose everyone knows who you are, so you don't need to introduce yourself.
I go, "Hi, I'm Alyx. I'm famous."
Famous after all, yeah.
Nah, I mean, if it was a totally new person who I didn't know, I might just be like, "Hi, I'm Alyx. I work in game audio, and I also have my own startup studio." Just like really brief, so they get where you're coming from, I think. But people will generally ask. They'll be like, "Oh, what do you do?" So you don't need to go in with a massive spiel.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing that I always do as well, and I'd be interested to hear from you all if this is acceptable or not. Is it okay to say, "Oh, hey, you don't know me, but I recognize you from Twitter"? Is that approved? Disapproved?
Yeah, I got that. Actually, at the general Edinburgh game dev one, I went, "Hi, so and so, I'm Aaron." He went, "Oh, you're that Aaron." It's like, uh-oh. I think it's because I said, "I'm coming tonight," yada yada yada. But yeah, some people have given me that. But of course, it's me banging the drum on Twitter all the time. So I'd kind of hope so, in my personal circumstance.
Hope so. Yeah, me too. Otherwise, I'm going to regret a lot of networking events I've been to. Someone in the chat as well says, just a good tip if you're nervous, just ask people questions about themselves and get them talking about themselves, because that's a good way to just let them take care of a conversation for a bit, and it gives you so many optional questions you can ask and chime in with later. So that's a good tip. So thank you, Kat. I'm getting a lot of questions actually, so I'm going to take a quick diversion from my little list and go through some of the questions that have come in the chat, if that's all right. So Katharina asks, sorry, chat's scrolling like crazy. I'm just copy and paste it quickly. So Katharina asks, say you started a conversation with someone you wanted to talk to because you know them from Twitter or whatever, and you notice after a few minutes you absolutely don't like this person in real life. What do you do?
Don't make me say glass of water again.
Yeah, to be honest, like, that's a good tip, Katharina. Just say, "Well, I got to get some new water. I got to go to the toilet or something." Just that's what I would personally do, because I can't handle any kind of confrontation. I just make up any excuse to get out of there. Even if I've just been to the toilet, I'll go straight again. Say, "Sorry, got to go to the toilet. See you later." Then I'll tactically avoid them all night.
It depends if you're just not vibing or if you're feeling a bit unsafe. Because like, if you need to get out of the conversation like really quick, being like, "I just need to take a call, I need to go for a wee, I'm going to get a drink, or my friend's over there, I just need to check on them," that kind of a thing. Or like, it happens with women more that you might get like hit on, or someone makes you feel super uncomfortable. And I'm lucky because I usually have like friends that I maybe have like a code with, or I can have a bit of a look, and everyone's like, "This has gone weird, let's all move away from this situation." Or like, we were on a train once with Lewis, and he was just like, "Oh, thingy's in this other train carriage, let's all go over there." There was no one there, but it got us out of the situation, and like, people can react to that. So yeah, like, it's not nice to have to do, but you can kind of like get out of it without it being really awkward. Or if you're just not vibing, then maybe like introduce other people to the conversation, or like you can move around quite a lot. Like, it's pretty normal, I think. But equally, like, give people a chance, like maybe ask a few more questions in a different area to try and get to know them in a different way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great answer. Sorry, just going through the chat again. Should have prepared. Okay, if there's any questions I missed, ask them again at the end because I cannot see them anymore. Okay, moving on. Okay, here's a little one. Do you think business cards are important?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Alyx?
No, make someone else talk.
Okay, Steve?
Sorry, I'll mute. Classic. No, no, they're not. I think it's. I've had it at some of the audio meetups. There was a voiceover artist who came in and within seconds was throwing cards around like Gambit, and it was. It instantly put me off. Saying that though, okay, so I get a lot of stick for the whole Demon House design thing and the graphic, and people don't kind of really get it that much, but I get recognized more for having that logo on various things than I do me, which is kind of good, and it's done in a really sneaky-ish way. Like at Leeds Beckett, I was approached by two people who saw the logo on my phone, and were like, "Are you that guy?" And Matthew Ferenzi, who works at Frontier, I asked him for feedback back in January, and he tore me a new one, and mainly about the graphic. So when I saw him, I went over and I said, "Oh, I just want to thank you for taking the time to have a look at that. I really appreciate your comment." And I did act on it, and I'm working on it now. And he was trying to remember who I was, and I give him a sticker with the logo on, and he was like, "Now I get it." So he goes, and I can see where you are. And I had that thing there. And he said, "If you ever need any help again," and there was that conversation going. So it's think differently if you want to do business cards. That's my advice, but I hate them.
Like, I obviously disagree because I think some people might not be really savvy with technology. Like, everyone can do your little LinkedIn scanning, but maybe there's like an older person who doesn't use technology so much. And I find I love going through business cards at the end of the night. Maybe I'm on the train home or go back to my hotel if I'm at like an event, and I'll go through and add everyone on whatever platforms. And sometimes having like the ones that are blank on the back, you can write like a little note. That's quite handy. I mean, it's just cool, like, to have different options available for whoever is on what, basically. And especially if you're looking for work. If I've added you on Twitter, that's great because we're connected, but I'm not necessarily going to remember what you did or what the conversation was we had. So I think it's kind of nice to have them, but you don't have to give them out. Like, it's not the first thing you go in with. It's just like, "Oh, I'm leaving quickly, but we didn't connect." So it's easy to just like pop a business card down rather than be like, "Let me just find my name," and do all of that kind of a thing. But I don't know, like, I equally think with your logo situation, Steve, that if someone's got your actual picture of your face on Twitter, it's a lot easier for me to remember who you are. And if I have had a conversation on Twitter, I'm going to know who you are rather than be like, "I'm Demon House Design." I'm like, what is that?
It's a risky strategy. I do know that, and it hasn't always worked. But again, it becomes a talking point. So, it's one of those. But yeah, I know it's chalk and cheese. But even in the feedback that I got at the time, it was like, I'm going to step over this. I was called a gamer boy, etc., which is like the opposite of what I am totally. But it made me think about what I was doing with it all. So I'm still figuring stuff out, but it's good fun anyway.
I think it's, especially if you're looking for work at that point and you're not established, it's good for people to be able to recognize you quickly. And especially if I've met you and you've told me your name, I'm probably going to forget it within a few hours. But if I can search it straight away, I can find you quickly on Twitter. Like, that's why I spell my name a bit funkily, because if you search Alyx Jones, spell A-L-E-X, you get millions of people. Whereas if you put A-L-Y-X, I'm right there. So, like, it's a good way to have like a bit of a brand and be like findable quickly.
Yeah, there's actually 2 points I want to lead on to that. First one was what you were saying, Steve, about kind of like being recognizable. This is like completely left field compared to everything we've been talking about, but like I have found, and I always say it with Alyx as well, like having something about yourself visually which is maybe a bit different to the sea of white men with beards at these events. So for me, for instance, it's not much, but like my hair is different to most people and it's fairly recognizable. And so people can, and I'm really tall as well, which helps. I know you can't really do anything about that, but just having that, people recognize me from across the room and say, oh, hey, you're the guy from Airwiggles or whatever. Had one person say, oh, hey, I thought you were a lady, which is a bit of a weird thing to say to someone when you meet them for the first time. But either way, it gets people talking to me. And likewise, I know, Alyx, with you, like I say it all the time, but your pink hair is like a beacon among a field or a busy pub or something. And I don't know your experience, but I would have thought it maybe would help people find you easier and you could have more conversation topics. But it's not just having a crazy hairstyle. Like there's people I've met who always wear a certain hat or like have, a mohawk or always wear the same kind of like a logo on their shirt or anything. Like if there's anything like that you think you can lean into, I don't think it's a bad thing per se, just because if it gets people, it's like branding, isn't it? If it gets people talking to you, it's maybe just makes the first step a little bit easier for everyone else that wants to talk to you. But it's definitely not required. That's just something that I've personally found has actually helped me more often than not, because people recognize me where I wouldn't have recognized them without it. And the other point I wanted to mention was what was I going to say? Yeah, about business cards. So I'm same as you, Alyx. Like, I don't think they're required at all. But for me personally, I mean, my full name is Lewis Stephen Thompson, which is my email address. I shouldn't have said that out loud, but there you go. And those are three names which have more than one spelling each. And so when I'm trying to give someone my email address, it's like I just have to spell out the entire thing really slowly. It's really painful. I hate it. If I can just give them a business card saying it's on here, as well as my Twitter handle and my website, etc., I don't have to worry about that. So it's a nice way of just being like, okay, I don't want to go through and tell you all this stuff. It's all in here. See you later, and leave or whatever. But likewise, as you're saying, Steve, like I wouldn't ever just go and give my business card out to people as the first thing I do. I think that's the wrong way of approaching it. It's same kind of deal as the laminated CV I was telling you about before. Like it's just not really appropriate.
Just imagining that scene in American Psycho with a business card.
Okay, next question. I wanted to know if do you all think having an online social media presence is important? I'll start with you, Aaron, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the answer is absolutely for me. Not what I intended to start with. It's been really important in two ways for me. Coming into these circles in this community, it's brought me in, because without having the community online, I wouldn't have really known this was an actual job I could pursue. In truth, I think I would have just had it as a nice thought in my head and continued looking at databases, which I guess I'm still doing to some degree. So yeah, it brought me in initially and found people to talk to, which is super cool. And just with my life setup, I can't get about often. You get trains here, there, and everywhere all the time. So having that online has been super helpful, just to have people to talk to, first of all. There's arguments to say how much you need to be online for that to build up your thing. Honestly, I would trade some of the online stuff to be there in person. I think it's good to have a balance. But it's just that's my situation. So I'm online all the time, and I think I have problems with that. I'll stop there. For now.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think maybe this group is a little biased with this question because I know we all have quite big online presences, and there's going to be plenty of successful people out there who do in-person networking and have loads of great careers, freelancing, whatever, who don't have one at all. But yeah, I'm assuming the rest of you are probably in agreement that like an online presence has probably done more good than harm. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak on your behalf.
I think it's worth pointing out that networking doesn't mean just in person, it means online. And like, if you're not online, you're missing out on like half of the networking potential. I mean, like Airwiggles is completely online, but even everyone is just on Twitter, like game dev happens on Twitter. And it's like, it's a problematic platform, but that's just where everyone is at the moment. And if you don't have that, then you're kind of missing out on connections with people on that platform potentially. So like, you don't have to do anything you don't want. Everything can be taken with a pinch of salt, but I recommend using, like look through the hashtag game audio, make some lists of people that you want to follow and see what they're up to, because you're going to get a different side of people from like in person online. So I really recommend it.
Yeah, totally. I just seen someone in a chat say, I don't know what to post on Twitter. I have that completely. You probably don't really notice anymore because I tweet about Airwiggles like every second of the day. But like before that, when I was starting out, like I knew I needed to tweet and kind of be active. Or didn't need to, but like I wanted to. I thought like I can do this. It's silly that I can't, and I never knew what to post. I remember reading somewhere, which is a good tip, which was a good like just kind of rule of thumb, is for every like 5 tweets you do or whatever, 4 of them should be like retweeting or interacting with someone else's stuff, and then for every 4 of those you do, you post something about yourself, whether it's like something you've worked on, something you're going to, something you're excited about, something about you. And I think that's a nice way of kind of like building a little connection without necessarily just having to tweet constantly, coming up with like original memes or observations or shares or whatever. Like I think just being on Twitter and like, you know, responding to people's questions or quote tweeting people shares saying this is great, whatever, like it's a good place to start if you're struggling. And I think once you get going for a while, in my experience anyway, like it became a lot easier finding things to tweet about. But it is difficult. I feel that pain.
Can I hop in on that one some more?
Yeah, please do.
Right.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think that's a really good shout. I didn't really think there was ever some form of formula one could follow, but that's a really good shout. It's important that you talk to people, you know, that you're in the pit with, your peers, the people who are maybe a little bit behind you on their journey, and obviously those who you want to be in with, and get the balance right. When it comes to talking about stuff on Twitter, I've had a bit of a journey, and I've had to really think about it and sort of tailor it as times went on, and be a bit stern with myself here and there. Most of us in these circles, we all love like multiple medias. So it's film, games, music for me. I really love those things. And I'm sure like Steve and Alex, you do too. Like obviously we're all in these spaces. I love tweeting about that stuff. I tweet about the movies I watch, and I log every film I watch on Letterboxd, and I share it. And like they're never as popular as the audio stuff, obviously, because it's not the field we're in. But it's something to talk about. And I love talking about these things. So maybe if you're struggling, that's something to hang on to as well.
Yeah.
Can I add on that? So this is where a bit conflicted with it, because I've done social media for work for a long time, and you know everyone talks about algorithms and how you can kind of cheat all of that. But the best advice is you've got to really think about what are you using your platform for, in terms of is it for me to advertise myself. But again, it all goes back to be authentic, be yourself. So, I mean, myself and Aaron kind of struck a friendship through the things that he was posting. So he's kind of beat himself up a little bit about there, or maybe that's a bad thing, you know. But I love horror films. Have you seen this? I love all of that. But you know, it's those. I'm going to post something in the chat about. It's a theoretical model if you want to go down that route about what to post on various things that can help, but you don't have to use it. The best thing is if you're talking to people and you yourself, you'll grow your platforms organically anyway.
Yeah. And balance, sort of echo what you're saying there, Steve. Balance is important. That's me done.
Nice, thanks. So I'll move on then from that one. Just I guess sort of similar. It's just if you have any tips for kind of like building an online network. I think we kind of covered it a little bit with like interacting with other people is probably equally as, or if not more important than kind of just like tweeting into the void. You're nodding, Alex. Do you have any tips?
When you first start, just find all the people that you think are cool and like you want to hear what they're up to and all the things that they're posting. Like you post really cool stuff about like little tips and tricks and sound design. Obviously, Greg does amazing videos of those kind of things. So that's like enjoyable content that people are going to want to watch. And you can also see what they're doing on social media and be like, can I learn anything from how they're kind of interacting with people or what they're posting? And like, I think, again, like it does come back to the authenticity thing because you're just being yourself and like you don't have to share everything. But you might find if you're saying, I'm a bit anxious about going to this meetup tomorrow, does anyone have any tips? People are really friendly and they'll help you. And like, you might find someone who's going there as well. And like, by reaching out and being a little bit personal, you don't have to share like every detail. But I think so many people struggle with mental health things and like audio is quite a behind the scenes kind of a job that you're not necessarily around people a lot. And so you can get so much support from your community just by like reaching out and, you know, share what you love, share what you don't, be critical of things. Like it's really like a great platform if you use it in the right way.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Any other tips about building network, folks? You both have pretty big networks, so I imagine you must be some thinking behind it.
Big thing that I learned. So there's loads of different ways to do this, and in terms of you can get people to share your content. So I've noticed, Aaron, with yourself, Wise has started to, so Audio Kinetic have taken an interest in some of the things that you're doing. And I've seen, yeah, and various other things. So that's a great way to expand your presence and stuff like that. There's also, I mean, my biggest, the quickest way I learned with this was it's really random this, but watching Etsy sellers and what they do in terms of how they present themselves online and take you through a journey from that's a cool thing that's being made there right through to their website and then their journey after it. So it's one way to think of kind of like how you approach sound design. You are making a product, so people love to see behind the scenes. They love to understand these little nuances of what makes you different, and then it's just capturing that. But I think that's probably the best thing I took from it.
Nice. I wasn't actually planning on talking about this, but I just, now we're talking about this, had a tip that I wanted to share as well. Something that, okay, maybe rewind like, I don't know, 2 years of my kind of like social media presence thing. I had no social media presence. I tweeted like every, like, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months. Basically, I either tweeted when I was about to go to a networking event, which as in like, I'm en route to this thing, who am I going to see there? And maybe like, I don't know, one other thing between that. I did nothing. And I really wanted to get better at it because I knew I was kind of missing out on this tool. And what I started doing was I made like a video series, which some of you might know. It's just called like Cool Audio Things, which is just like me doing a quick kind of 30-second video, kind of TikTok style about this is a game I played, this is something cool I noticed in the audio. It's like really quick analysis videos. I knew that if I was going to do them like every week, which is my initial plan, I would not be able to keep it up because it's too much work. It's like writing a blog. I do like 3, I get bored. And so I made 30 in one go, as in it took me like 2 months. Getting up early every morning, I made 30 in one go. It took me ages. And then I just had a collection. I knew I could keep it going and just released them once a week. And some of them did terrible on Twitter. Like some of them did quite well. One of them got retweeted by Hideo Kojima, which is my personal claim to fame. But basically, like it was a small thing. And to be honest, once we started Airwiggles, I kind of forgot all about it. But like just having like something weekly on like something like consistent, which is my thing. I had some people start recognizing me from, oh, you're the guy that does those videos, or I get more people constantly retweeting or responding to me, etc. It's not just me though. Like I'm assuming everyone here knows like Aidan Hall on Airwiggles, who uploads a free sample library every single week. That's an absolute ton of work. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not recommending you do that. Like that's insane. But at the same time, we all kind of know who he is and are super thankful for him. We all use his sounds. Like I use those sounds for work, like all the time. I know he's gotten opportunities through that. But even just like not things that big, like there's people that post like things like, I think I forget the name of it. I think it's Randy Coppinger posts like a Microphone Monday type thing. And just like, there's loads of like little weekly series or monthly series or just people kind of sharing something like consistent. So if you kind of come up with like a thing you can do, like a thing you can host. Oh yeah. Another great example is, Chris Giametti's Audio Industry News on Instagram gets so many like likes and comments and stuff like that. All it is like a roundup of industry news over the course of a week. Super useful resource for anyone in audio, but no one else has been doing it. So it's a nice way of kind of like just capitalizing on like this little space in the social media market and giving something consistently. And I think you can grow a really big online following by doing that. But obviously it's a lot of work. So kind of like have a think about what you can do, what people need, and if you can kind of stick with it for enough time for it to be like a consistent thing. Same for like, real reviews or podcasts, all that kind of stuff, same kind of thing. Just whilst we're on the topic of social media, before I move away from it, Catherine just asks, do you need to show your face on social media, or does it work without? What does everyone think?
I think if you don't, it takes away from you as a person a little bit, and it's harder to connect with someone who's just an avatar of something. So like if you have good reasons for not showing your face, you're trying to like protect your identity from being public, then fine, fair enough, you've got to do what you've got to do. But I think it's a lot easier. Even like if you're making TikToks, like your little videos, if you have like a little moment of you saying, this is my next video about this, like people will recognize you straight away. So it is building your brand. God, they're scared there. So yeah, ideally if you can, but everyone's different.
I like to think it's more important if you are also going to loads of in-person events. So like, and if it depends on where you are. If you're in an area where there are loads of in-person events and you're going, it probably does help to have a picture of yourself so people can recognize you easier. But I'd say it's probably less important if like you're living somewhere and like online networking is like all you can do. What do you think, Steve and Aaron?
Yeah, so Again, this is kind of personal preference. I think, yeah, it definitely does. I've got to be honest that I had such a hang up on my age compared to a lot of I want to say colleagues, but a lot of other people in the industry and stuff. That, I mean, look at this call. It's like you're on a live stream to your dad. You know what I mean? And it's like, are you eating well, Alyx?
It's really not.
I'm hydrated. Yeah.
This is my own mental thing, and I'm working through that. So the logo really helped when I initially start to gain the confidence to kind of do things like this. That's part of a bigger story, really. And again, because it came from the stuff I was doing on Etsy and the move over, it was a natural thing just to carry it through. But I'm now more at a place where I'm kind of a bit more happy to share my face, especially as I meet more and more people who kind of know me and who have met. But I think it's, you know, it is what it is. There's no, I think you can read too much into these things. Ultimately, it's you that wants to do a particular job, so it should be you that sells at the end of the day.
I suppose it's all about being recognizable, and you don't have to have a picture of your face to do that if you're clever about it. Were you going to say something, Alyx? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say for Steve, the thing is, like, other people might feel the same, and when you start putting yourself out there, they might feel a bit more comfortable about doing it as well. And it's the same with, like, women. Like, there's not as many visible people in there, so I make sure that I'm extra visible because I'm an ambassador for people, and I'm also, you know, like, representing and being a role model now that I'm in the industry for people to, like, get up. And that doesn't matter what your situation is, but there's going to be other people who feel the same. So when you put yourself out there, it kind of makes it a better space for everyone else if you're willing and ready.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
I have just one thing on
go.
that. Sorry, Liz.
No,
the only thing I have to add to that is that one of the events we were hosting, someone came in and they were like, come over here, and they were like, where are your glasses? You've got glasses on Twitter. I've always got glasses in my profile picture. So that's the only thing I have to add to that.
It's funny.
That's your brand. Funny. You need, like, really bright glasses and everyone recognise you wherever you go.
Like glasses.
You could be the person that always wears with 2001 glasses or whatever, or like with white stars or something.
Amazing.
You can have that for free, everyone. Someone can do that.
Thank you.
Last point with the social media stuff, and I couldn't do any kind of live stream on Aircon without plugging Airwiggles. Obviously, tweeting and stuff is great. Loads of people on Twitter. I do recommend it. But, you know, if you have a small follower base, you're tweeting to however many people follow you, which might not be very much at the start. If you put something on Airwiggles, everyone on Airwiggles is going to see it. So, you know, it's a good way to get your name out there without having to have an existing follower base. So when you make a video or a tweet or whatever you want to share with people, post it on Airwiggles as well. We're very welcome to it. Honestly, it's worth it. Anyway, moving on from that shameless plug, I wanted to just move on to then. Sorry.
I was going to say about that. So there is an added benefit to Airwiggles as well. I mean, I'm an advocate naturally because I've been on it for ages and all that sort of stuff. But there's also Airwiggles carries a lot of weight with SEO in terms of like that sort of thing. So whether it's you think you're just posting to a smaller community, think about your titles and what you're putting in there, because Google actually clogs this up in the algorithm, and it will distribute it across Google networks as well. So it's not just, there is an extended part of that that's slightly unexpected, but it is a benefit to everyone on the platform.
Nice, thank you. I'll pay you the 20 quid I promised to plug Airwiggles after the stream. Okay, yes, I wanted to, moving away from the social media networking side, which is great, and I would love to talk about it more, but I'm pushed for time. Going back to in-person networking events. So obviously all of us here have started our own networking events at some point within the last few years. Has it been worthwhile? Do you think it's worth doing if you're in an area where there isn't an audio meetup or a networking meetup? Anyone want to go first?
Yeah,
Steve?
I mean...
Sorry, Alyx.
No,
you go first, Alyx.
Yeah. I think wherever you are in the world, being the first person to do it makes you recognisable to everyone else that comes along after. And so, if anything, it's better that there's not a meetup where you are locally, because you're the person that founded that, and so you kind of become the face of it. And so, you know, it's great that you can go to stuff, but if you find something in an area where you think there's no one, you might actually find and discover loads of people who wanted the same thing, and someone just needed to make that first step. So, like, it's really beneficial to be part of it, either side of it. And equally, if people are running stuff in your area and you want to be more involved with helping out, just reach out, because we're probably tired and doing loads of extra stuff. And if you're just like an extra person to like be like, oh, can you just get there? I'm running late, or like stay a bit later at the end. You can kind of work together to do that, or put on a bit more, like mini talks, all those kind of things. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Aaron and Steve? Aaron?
Yeah, great points made by Alyx as well. It was nice because, yeah, I couldn't make it to a lot, and there were none in Scotland at the time. I think just because it wasn't too long after COVID and people starting to come back out into the world. And I've done some research to see, like, there's no point of me starting something if there's something already going on. Like, I'm not interested in having something for the sake of it and stepping on someone's toes. So I put the feelers out and all that, and it just didn't come together. But as Alex mentioned, bring people in if you're not too sure about starting it solely by yourself. You know, I've got Andrew and Kat who helped me, who are both lovely people, and I've gone quite close to them through it as well. So yeah, it's been fun, if anything. It's absolutely benefited, but it's good fun. So
yeah, how about you, Steve?
100%, exactly those points. I had the same experience. I think it's so some examples of the events. I cashed in a load of favors through friends that I know locally to come to the events that I knew would kind of bring a few more people in. But from that, it meant that I was able to meet people who work in Liverpool studios, which only would have ever saw this horrible application come through from me begging. And it was in a different scenario. And I've made some good friends like that. But, yeah, it's definitely worth it. I know I'm going to bring up Sarah here, but she's thinking about maybe setting one up herself, which I'm going to prod her to do so, not only for the fact that it's in Dublin and I want to go, but just for the experience that comes with it.
Yeah, I really do recommend it as well. Likewise, I mean, I set up for Guildford meetup with you, Alyx, and I think that has been a great, success. There was a few times near the start, like the first kind of like 3 or 4 events, where sometimes it was quieter than we would have hoped. But in general, like, we kept it consistent, and even when it was quiet, it was still good, to be fair. But like now, it's quite a big one. We get like kind of 15, 20 people each time, new people each time as well, and some old people. It's a really great time. I've met so many amazing people through it. I met Greg Lester through a Guildford Audio meetup that I run. I think it was the first one I run, actually. I met Greg Lester, and now he's my like colleague, friend, entrepreneur, partner, or whatever for Airwiggles.
If there ever was a statement and a reason, Lewis, right here. Yeah. That's how you two met. That's how it all began.
Exactly. We wouldn't be here literally wouldn't be here right now if I didn't start a Guildford Game Audio meetup, which seems silly, but like it really is like that effective. It can lead to such cool things. And likewise, my other colleague Jake Baston runs a Bristol meetup where I live now, but when he had a baby, he stopped running for a bit, and so I took over for a bit. And again, like, I moved to Bristol, I was like completely new. I met so many people through starting that meetup, restarting that meetup. And now I'm so busy, I'm glad Jake has taken it back, but like, it was still great fun organizing it, and just, it was again only kind of like 7-10 people each time, but it was really worthwhile to me. And something I wanted to ask really is, when you start your meetup, let's say whoever's watching this is like, I'm going to do it, I'm inspired, I'm going to start me a meetup in whatever town I'm in. How can they get people to come? How do you get numbers? Anyone? Aaron? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you my story in that. As I said, it's kind of terminally online. So I'd already sort of scouted out some people who were in Scotland interested in sound design. And I reached out to 3 heads, some of which I'd favorited their tweets or chatted to them a little bit beforehand, and they favorited mine, whatever. So there was some line in, just saying, hi, I'm thinking of putting this thing on. I know this is kind of odd, me coming out the blue. Would you come? And that's honestly what it was for the first few people. I got 3 yeses, and I thought, if it just ends up with me and one person on a date, I'll carry it. That's fine. But yeah, that's how I started it. Yeah.
Nice. I've told you all this before, but every single networking event I go to, I always get there first. because I just need to be there first. I don't know why, superstition thing, I suppose. And I'm sat there by myself at my table for 12 that I've booked, and I always think, is it worse if no one comes or if one person comes? And I still don't have an answer for that, because luckily neither has ever happened. But one day I might find out which is worse. It is always scary waiting for someone to come. But yes, that's a good tip. Something I do as well when I'm doing an event, especially when it's be a bigger one, is I reach out to local. You can reach out to local studios, but it's mainly local universities. I do students are always welcome at any kind of events we run, or even just hobbyists. Don't even need to be a student. And I always reach out to say in Guildford, I reach out to Uni Surrey and ACM and be like, we're doing this meetup. And it's great. So many great things can come to it. And I went to this uni before and I did networking events. It was great. Tell some students to come along. And sometimes you do. It's actually surprising how little do. I don't know if the message isn't getting across or if people just don't want to come. I'm not offended, but you're not going to be overrun with an entire uni's worth of students. You're going to get maybe 3 or 4, to be honest, tops from my experience. And likewise, same for at Bristol, we did that again with UE and Uni Bristol, and we get 3 or 4 more students who are really interested, really excited, a bit nervous as well, to be fair. So I'm always trying to help them, let them know that it's not going to be a scary networking thing. But yeah, it's a good way of getting some more faces down. How about you, Steve? How do you get people to come to the Liverpool meetups?
Yeah, I beg a lot. That same fear, but to be honest, just putting it on is worth it. I think I was going to a lot of events all over the place before I decided to do the Liverpool one, and it was just to gauge what actually happens there, and from that give me the courage to kind of go, well, it's literally just go in the pub. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on what you said about the student thing. This is one of the best things that has happened at one of the events. Is had 2 student guys who come down from I think it's one of the Liverpool universities, who was studying sound design, and they got to talk with one of the guys who worked on Zero Horizon, Call of the Mountain, through that, and their faces while they were around this guy. This guy's a friend of mine, so I always wind him up about stuff. And he walked away and I said that they were treating you like a god, and he was like, I know, and he was so in awe of that situation, but also the students were so happy. But it was like I walked away with a really nice, warm, fuzzy feeling about that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the tips. And also having great stories like that to tempt people along to your event is also a good thing.
How about you, Alex? How do you get people to come along?
Yeah, I mean, I've done various things. The Women in Games meetups are easy because they already have a platform. But putting things on Eventbrite or Meetup kind of helps because people are going to search for events in the local area. I used to find stuff on Meetup that would just be random music related things that I'd just pop along to in London. But equally emailing local unis or local companies just to be we're running this on this date. Discord is really great as well because they might have pre-existing networks, and it might not be specifically game audio, but you might find that there's an artsy kind of a group or local community or something that you can tap into. But I'm never really worried that people won't come because I'm quite happy if just a couple of people do, because it's just pretty chill. So it's if loads of people come, great. If just a few don't, then you can have a bit of time with them and actually have a full-on conversation, not just hi.
Nice, thanks. Yeah, great, fantastic answer, everybody. Really appreciate that. I have a question just for you, Alex, if that's all right. I mean, the other two are welcome to answer, but I don't think it applies. Correct me if I'm wrong. I wanted to know, out of my own interest, really, you've done some sponsored events before where you get sponsors to cover drinks or food or whatever. How on earth do you go about that? Is it worth it? Is it easy?
Yeah, the Women in Games ones were sponsored because there was kind of a Google initiative that they basically just chuck a load of money behind the bar, but they can say that they've done a Women in Games event. So some of the diversity initiatives are easier to get money for because it looks good for the companies. And Game Jams is the other main thing that we get sponsorship for. And that can be either with a specific company, for example, Wargaming gave us the space and they kind of just left out food and drink for us. So it wasn't a monetary thing, but we were kind of fed and looked after. And then in other situations, the most recent Global Game Jam, actually the one before that, I think Yuki sponsored, which are a really, really good resource for anyone. They have loads of good stuff on there, whether it's just statistics or kind of just reach out to people. Like, I think everybody in every aspect is quite friendly and just say why you're doing it and what you're hoping for, and the worst that they can say is no, or they'll publicise your event even if they don't give you any money. And like Guildford Games as a whole already has connections with all of the companies in the local area, so it's quite easy to just put in like a little bit of money for some pizza or something. But you'd be surprised, like, even if you just have one games company in the area just being like, would you put 50 quid behind the bar and we'll say you're a sponsor, they'll probably do it. And on that, I think it's worth having like a little banner so people can find you, you know, like a Guildford Game Audio is here. Because I think in the past, we all know each other, and then if someone new comes in, they'd be like, I don't know which table it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few times actually where we've had 2 tables without realizing it until about 2 hours in when they finally merge. And it's like, well, I can't believe we could have been sat together this whole time. I was sat there thinking no one showed up to our meetup. It turns out they were just on a bigger table somewhere else having a great time without me.
They were having a meetup without you, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, then. Tell you what, I want any questions from the audience? We can maybe do 1 or 2. I don't want to take too long because I know you're all taking much of your time. If there's any questions, then get them in now and I'll go through a few of them. But whilst we're waiting, I just wanted to ask you all run meetups. I believe we all have a meetup in the calendar. When is your next respective game audio meetup in the UK, and where can you go to find it? Alex, you want to go first?
Is it the 25th?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. June.
Yes.
Yes,
Where?
I've won the quiz. We basically always do Guildford stuff at the Drummond, so you can come to that. And I think there's also the bigger game audio, not game audio, Guildford Games Drinks, 29th. It's like a couple of days after, on the Tuesday. They just announced it today, I think. So yeah, you can have loads of meetups in Guildford. They're always like that.
Yes.
But yeah.
Nice.
I think it's all on Airwiggles, right?
Yes, it is. I was hoping someone would say that. If you didn't already know this, you must do. If you know who I am, you would have seen me tweet about it a million times. Every event in game audio, we put on the events tab on Airwiggles, which anyone can see. You can all RSVP to. Go to that tab. You can see all the events, such as Aaron.
The next Edinburgh meetup. Yes, is a week this Saturday, so 9 days from now. But you know, if you're in, say, the north of England and it's maybe closer for you, or it works better for you, like, come on up. And you know, it doesn't have to be that you're in Scotland or Edinburgh. Strictly speaking, I'm not in Edinburgh. But yeah, a week on Saturday.
Nice. Is that the 24th of June? Is it?
It is.
Cool. That's my birthday. Maybe I'll come along for a little birthday visit.
Yeah.
Steve, how about you? When's the next Liverpool meetup?
1st of July at Brewdog. There you go. I would urge people, same as Aaron, if you're not from Liverpool or nearby, come down. If you need help looking for accommodation, let me know, and I can help you sort that out. But it's the home of the Beatles, goddammit. You want to come down and have a look around? We've got statues and stuff.
Nice. And I'm just going to stall quickly because I forgot when the Bristol meetup is. That's embarrassing.
I can't believe you put me on the spot and then you don't know your own. Come on.
The Bristol UK meetup is on the 29th of June, which is a Thursday evening at the Christmas Steps pub. It's in 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time. Come along, I'll be there. So that's all the motivation you need.
Very, very busy few weeks we have ahead of us, everyone.
Everyone's getting busy in the summer with networking events. Yeah. There's also things like Develops next month in July. I'm assuming a few of us will be there. I'll be there at Develop on Thursday. Great.
Just booked the accommodation this morning. There was a bit of a thing saying, how bad can we choose the place that I stay? I think we found one with 1 star, but it's one of the reviews said it wasn't safe, and that was the line for me. So
that's what sold it to you.
No, that was the one that put me off.
Oh.
It's like the rest of it sound quick. I can deal with a dirty bedroom. I can deal with someone else dead next to me. But you know,
it's part of the demon house thing.
Yeah. When it comes down to my own safety, that's mine.
Interesting. So again, more tips to not follow from that. I also wanted to shout out. We do online networking events on airwiggles.com. We have one tomorrow, actually. We have 2 tomorrow to wrap up Aircon. Obviously, tomorrow's the last day of Aircon. It's been a great 2 weeks. We have one online meetup. I think it's at, sorry, again, embarrassing. Get my facts right, Lewis. We have one at 8 p.m. BST and one at 12:30 in the morning BST the day after. So there's 2 kind of for different time zones. They're a bit different, to be fair. We're experimenting with our online meetups. It's all kind of like proximity chat based. I'm aware that it probably scares a lot of people, the idea of having to do a random like Zoom meeting with 1 million people. But they're not that bad. But I won't lie, it's always a little bit awkward at the start when people are trying to work out how to talk to each other. But honestly, I promise you, after half an hour, it flows like butter. So I recommend coming to one of those. And we do it every month. It's normally like a Thursday. We do once per month. All online networking events. We can kind of chat to people from other areas from your own. I think it's a good, worthwhile thing. So I recommend doing those. And I think that's probably everything. Is that right? I can't think of anything else to ask. Any last notes or thoughts, anyone, before I wrap up?
No, I've just noticed there's a few different ones in the chat. So there's got Australia Game Audio. Sarah Sherlock is going to be hosting Game Audio Dublin. Have you got a date yet, Sarah?
But I forgot to mention, obviously loads of events do pop up on Airwiggles. If you are making an event, let us know. So let me and Greg know. We'll put it on the events tab. We can push it as much as we can. We want to push all these community events. We're really, really into them. So let us know. We'll put it on the website and every future one as well. We're really keen to collaborate on that. But yeah, I think that is everything. In which case, I'm going to go get some water.
I think I saw someone ask quickly about bringing a spouse or a friend to meetups, and most of them you'll find are really, really open, and they just say all people are welcome, so that's definitely fine. Do it.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, then, everyone, let's call it a day. Thank you, everyone, so much for taking the time to answer some questions about networking. Hopefully, we've made it a little bit less scary to some people in the audience. And yeah, hopefully, we'll see you at the next few events coming along. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to end the stream now. It's going to end in about 15 seconds. But yeah, I'll catch you all later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lewis, for hosting.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.
Bye. Bye.
See you later.